Hello, my name is Eddie Jennings, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the elements of music, continuing our discussion about the basics of music theory. To give you a little bit of background, when I was an undergrad and taking my freshman and sophomore theory courses, we used textbooks by Robert Ottman, and I think they were called Elementary Harmony and Advanced Harmony. And those of course are not the be-all end-all texts of music theory. There's a variety of theory texts out there, but I think Ottman does a pretty good job of laying things out and is quality curriculum that colleges can use for this basic theory training. And I mention this because the terminology and such that I'll use is probably in line with what Ottman has. So just wanted to give you a little background. Don't worry, I'm not going to just be regurgitating the Ottman books as I talk about music theory, but I wanted to give you a little context on where my training and background came from in theory. So on to the subject matter, the elements of music. All musical sounds have four particular characteristics to them, and I'm very careful to say musical sounds. Not every sound that you hear is musical. It's kind of an obvious thing. If you were to go to a construction site and hear a person using a jackhammer, that's making sounds. It's making probably loud sounds, and you hear hearing protection for that. But those sounds are not musical sounds. So the four elements that a sound must have to be a musical sound are pitch, duration, intensity, and timbre. And I'm going to describe each of those and give you some examples. The goal, of course, is, and this is true for anything with music theory, is to be more aware of these concepts. So when you're listening to your own music, you can identify, oh, these are the pitches that are being used. Oh, this is a particular timbre that's being used in this piece. And you can recognize it, compare it to other things you listen to, and just have a little deeper awareness of the things to which you're listening. So on to pitch. Pitch is represented through notes. And I'm going to take a particular note here. This is an A. That pitch has a particular frequency to it. Usually, or not usually, but we typically think of that as 440 hertz, A440. Though it might be that A. I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure that's the A that's A440. You may have heard of A440 as far as tuning and such. It's a standard that a lot of folks tune to. They say A is 440, so we use that to get all the other pitches in tune. But the concept of intonation we'll get in a little bit later. Anyway, pitch will have the quality that it has is either high or low. So if I take this A and play a note that is lower or lower frequency or shorter or wider frequency than A, I would have this note that is lower than the A. If I play the same A again and play a note that is higher, we have difference in pitch. Low pitch, what I'm going to call a middle pitch right now, which is the A against which we're comparing, and a high pitch. If you have just a single pitch, then it's difficult to determine if it's a high or low pitch. Now, of course, your ears are going to go, hey, this sounds high to me. Well, you can make that determination because you've been exposed to all sorts of sounds throughout your life, and so you already have a reference point of what you think is a low, middle, and a high sound. Another characteristic as far as pitch, I'm going to play A's. I'm going to play several A's. So here's an A. Here's another A. Another A. Oh, missed a note there. A. Another A. And another A. Those are all A's. However, they are clearly different notes. And so this is where that element of pitch comes in. Each of those A's, we have lower A's and higher A's. That's where we get the difference from. The next idea is duration. Duration is where rhythm comes from in music, and all rhythm is a division of time. Now, of course, if you've had any study with rhythm and you know how complex rhythm can get, and you go, oh, it's just division of time. Well, it is. We choose to make that as complex, as simple as we want. And what I mean by division of time, you have some standard set of time. We use a term called tempo, and tempo refers to a steady beat. I'm going to snap my fingers here at a steady tempo. That in itself is rhythm, because at a given interval of time, I'm snapping my fingers. Thus we have duration. Now, where this comes into effect with rhythm is we take this concept of time, represented by tempo, and we will either take units of that and combine it together, or we take units of that and divide them into smaller parts to get either slower rhythms or faster rhythms. For example, I'm going to play something for you on the keyboard, and the rhythm I'm going to play, its duration is going to be 4 clicks. Every 4 clicks, I'm changing notes. Thus, the duration of the duration quality of this musical sound that I'm making, we can tell a pitch quality. Duration quality is the fact that it's taking 4 clicks of time. I can do a similar rhythm. This time it only takes 2 clicks of time. So now this rhythm is twice as fast as it once was. I can play rhythms that have 1 click of this time. Or I can play 2 notes in the span of 1 click. So now I'm dividing that, that unit of time in half. All of that is duration, thus another element of music. Next element is intensity. And intensity comes with a couple of different things. The most obvious definition of it is with how loud or how soft a sound is. And we use a term called dynamics to express this, with piano dynamic being soft, loud or full dynamics being forte, and then we have the word mezzo that we'll add to it to give us medium loud or medium soft. Of course, as you can imagine, intensity and what's considered loud and soft is all relative. If you are, again, I'll use the construction place as an example. If someone's there working a jackhammer, and you're talking to them in what would be a loud, what you would consider a loud tone of voice, it might not sound loud to them because the sounds around it, the jackhammer, are so much louder, it makes your loud voice sound soft. Intensity is relative. One of the big failings, in my humble opinion, of a lot of music in the last, really, I'd say maybe 30 or 40 years, you'll hear music and you won't hear any change of volume in it. It's just 3.5 minutes or so of the exact same volume. Now, does that make the music bad? Of course it doesn't. But I think you lose a little bit of contrast there. Think about a good storyteller. A good storyteller is not keeping the volume of their voice the same the entire time. Sometimes they're a little bit quieter with their volume, and then they get to the big surprise and they make their voice louder. It creates contrast. It creates interest. Another thing with intensity, and this is related to duration some, is style. And style, again, that can be a whole video series in itself as far as musical style. But the little example I'm going to give you today is between tenuto or legato style, smooth and connected, and staccato, which is detached. And an example of this, I'm going to play my 4 notes again. We call that legato. It's smooth and connected. All the notes are touching each other. Now I'm going to play a little different style. Staccato. Now, duration has changed with it. I have shorter notes. And where intensity can come from, a lot of what makes style is a combination of changes in duration of notes and changes in volume of notes. So you put those two together to create style. But for the purpose of this, intensity, know that as how loud or soft the sound is. And the final element, and this is spelled T-I-M-B-R-E, but I promise you it is pronounced timbre, like T-M-B-U-R. For years, when I was a young musician, I said timbre, and then someone finally pulled me aside and educated me a bit, and it is timbre. Timbre is tone quality. It is how a sound sounds. And what I mean by that, I'm going to play a note for you on the keyboard here. And I'm going to sing that note. Da. As you can hear, the exact same pitch. I'm playing a B flat on the keyboard. But you can immediately hear a difference between and da. My voice has a different timbre than what's on the keyboard. This electronic keyboard has a lot of different sounds in it. I'm going to change the sound here to a piano sound. Oh, let me go the correct way here. Here we go, piano sound. Very different timbre than, where was I before? Than this organ sound, which is a different timbre than my voice, which is going to be a different timbre than me playing the same note on one of my saxophones. So, in review, all musical sounds are going to have a pitch quality of some sort. They're going to have a duration. You'll be able to hear even if the beat isn't necessarily steady. Sometimes it gets faster, sometimes it gets slower, but you can still determine duration of the sounds that you hear. You will hear intensity. Hopefully you'll hear some changes in intensity to keep the music sounding interesting to you, and you'll hear timbres. If you're listening to just a single person singing a song, you're probably going to hear one timbre. They can make some changes to their voice to change the timbre a bit, but it'll pretty much just be the timbre of their voice. Or if you're listening to an orchestra or a concert band or a jazz band or rock band or what have you, you'll hear all sorts of different timbres represented by the different instruments and different vocalists that are in the ensemble. So I encourage you to take this knowledge and go back and listen to the music that you enjoy listening to, and ask yourself if you can identify differences in pitches, differences in durations and timbres, and compare that between different pieces of music that you listen to. You might find yourself having a little bit greater musical experience, having some greater understanding about what these elements of music are. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and hopefully you learned a bit about the elements of music. If you like the video, make sure that you click like and also subscribe to the channel so you can be aware of when I produce more content either about music or about IT. You can also go to ejsllc.com to learn a little bit more about me and engage me should you like me to help you either with learning some stuff about music or private lessons or just questions. You can also comment on the channel and such. I'll answer as much as I can, and I encourage you to be a part of the conversation. Thanks again for listening, and have a great day.